I'll start. I'll break the ice. So for those who don't know me, I'm Marius Navickas, Head of Operational Marketing here at Teltonika Networks.
I'm Mindaugas Navickas, not brothers.
No relation.
No relation. I'm head of sales, R&D sales division at Teltonika Marketing, Teltonika Networks.
Hello, I am Mantas Čižauskas. I am head of our research and development division.
Or in other words, we can tell CTO.
Some people call it that.
Okay.
Hello everyone, I am Tomas Mikolaitis and I am the owner of Teltonika Networks RMS platform.
Okay, I'm the last but not least, I hope. So I'm Andrius Unikas. Oftenly you see me making the webinars. This webinar will be somehow different. We will try to answer all your questions. And again, I'm Andrius and I'm the head of marketing projects.
Right, and important thing to note, this is essentially a Q&A session, and we're very happy to answer any of the questions you might have about our recently announced 5G devices, which we have here. They're real. And I just want to ask everybody to use the Q&A functionality inside Zoom. And this is going to be the easiest way for us to make sure that we don't miss any questions, and hopefully throughout the time that we have allocated, answer all of them. We see a good audience joining in, and just to put everybody on the same page, just to make sure that all of the essential details are clear, we thought that it would make a lot of sense to show you just a quick recap of what the RET X50 and what the TRB 500 is all about. So we would have a more elaborate discussion about their differences, their position in the market, and of course their potential. So
okay, so it will be my part. So give me just 1 second to share my screen and you will see the reminder, let's say, of what products do we have. All right, so hello again. Probably didn't see my face, but I will try to. Okay, you should see my face right now. It might be awkward, just to see all of us, and then you can see only my face. So hello again. Thanks for everybody who have joined the event, which was on the 5th of September, 2 days ago. It was spectacular. We had a chance to make, let's say, an introduction of 2 new 5G products. The first product, we can start with the TRB 500. It is the latest member of TRB Gateway series, which is equipped with 5G module, right? Which enables speeds up to 1 gigabit per sec of download and up to 900 megabit per sec of upload speed. Due to this technology, due to 5G technology, our product offers ultra low latency. And if you want to use, let's say, 4G in the beginning, right, and move to the 5G in a short period of time, TRB 500 is the perfect device, perfect choice, since it is backwards compatible with 4G and 3G. Furthermore, one of the main features it has is the standalone and non-standalone compatibility, which enables a possibility to get 5G signal either from the new 5G base station or updated 4G base station, which is quite important. If you are in a specific area or country, which either has a choice to building a new 5G base stations or just using old ones because of the price and expenses. Furthermore, TRB 500 is the same, almost the same size as the whole TRB series gateways that are small in size. Furthermore, TRB 500 is one of the smallest, if not the smallest 5G gateway in the market, if we would compare to others. For my knowledge, when I was making a research, it is almost twice smaller as others are offering. Furthermore, it weighs only 240 grams. Others can weigh up to 2 kilos. And it is important if you are using this product in weight-sensitive applications like drones, etc. If you would, let's say, remember the beginning of 5G products, which was, I think, 2 or 3 years ago, you would see that the first devices had tens of antennas, while TRB 500 has only 4, which also decreases the size of the device. Another important feature of TRB 500 is that it has 1 gigabit Ethernet port, meaning it consumes less power and has enough CPU capacity for additional services. So in simple words, you can be sure that you will get exactly what is needed. A 5G product with a single Ethernet port. Another great things that needs to be mentioned, TRB 500 supports multiple VPNs and firewall with different industrial protocols such as, let's say, Modbus, TCP, slave, and master. With special design of our power socket, TRB 500 has 1 digital input and 1 output for even more application scenarios and use cases. So TRB 500 is the most affordable industrial option to access benefits of what 5G is offering. And you will hear how, let's say, affordable if you will have any question regarding that. I hope that Mindaugas will have the possibility to answer this. Having its size as an advantage, it opens many new use cases where competitors cannot be used, and it supports our operating system, the RTOS, with hundreds of different features and enough, let's say, processing power for custom applications. Heading directly to the second one, the RTX50, an industrial 5G router following the same design as our RTX series product. Basically, it is silver. It has more to offer, not just 5G connectivity. Due to the module used, it can offer speed up to 3.3 gigabit per sec of download and up to 900 megabit per sec of upload. It is compatible again with the same SA and NSA, and it has backward compatibility with LTE Cat 20 and 3G. It has 5 gigabit Ethernet as our RTX 12 or RTX 14 routers. It supports Wi-Fi 5, or in other words, you can call it dual band Wi-Fi with 2.4 and 5 gigahertz frequency range. Furthermore, it has, again, digital inputs and outputs for additional applications. Comparing with the others, it has smaller size again and is quite lighter. Furthermore, it has a wider range of power supply from 9 to 50 volts. So you can power it up either from 12 volts, 24 volts, or even 48 volts if needed. As our RTX series, it has 2 SIM cards, USB and GNSS for location tracking. Probably the most important thing is the future proofing. What does that mean? It means that you can use the device in 4G frequency and move to 5G when it's ready. Furthermore, again, it offers up to 3.3 gigabit of download speed, and you will have a possibility to use 2 different SIM cards to avoid any connectivity downtime. All in all, I'm very happy to have this chance, let's say, to watch the whole introduction of even 2 new 5G products made by our company, Teltonika Networks. And I think now we can move to the Q&A session. So Marius, do you have any questions and can we highlight those?
Thanks, Andrus. Well, we have lots, and I'm sure there's lots to come as well. Thanks for recapping what we introduced about the TRB 500 and the X50. And well, I guess it makes sense to start with the hardware. So I have a couple of similar questions, both from Francis and Christian. They're talking about the SoC and the CPU. So the first question is the CPU the same in the TRB 500 and the RTX50?
Okay, so those 2 devices from the architecture point of view are completely different in the sense that IoT X50 does have the CPU. It shares the same CPU as all our IoT X series devices. On the other hand, the TRB 500 actually doesn't have the CPU at all. We are using we are using the 5G model, which has the CPU inside it, and we are utilizing the power of the CPU of the model itself. So no external CPU in TRB 500 device at all.
That's why it's smaller, more integrated,
Yeah, exactly.
and yeah, less parts to go wrong.
And less parts less parts to get late from the supplier as well.
I need to get the source.
I see. There wasn't a question, but I'm sure it's quite interesting for our viewers. If it's possible not to use additional CPU or SoC, it seems like everybody would do it. I guess it's quite challenging to make the gateway work just on the module itself.
It has its benefits and drawbacks. While we can save the space, we are more dependent on the module itself. If we are not using external CPU, it means that we cannot easily switch the module. That not all 5G models, even from the same manufacturer, can be used with the device. Every version of the model for different regions requires a little bit tuning from our programmers. So, and the model itself doesn't have all the necessary interfaces for the more complicated devices. So. So it makes sense to leave the CPU out for the simpler devices, but when talking about more powerful ones like IoT X50, the CPU does have its benefits. Yeah, we can add Wi-Fi, more Ethernet ports, and be more flexible with the modules that we connect to the CPU itself.
Yeah, so basically the architecture is completely different.
And, of course, you guys can see the wide size difference here in terms of the products itself. So adding that extra CPU, not only I/O, does increase the footprint of a product. There was a question about availability, Mindaugas, and also certifications in terms of worldwide access to these products.
So the first products are now on the manufacturing line as we speak. So our first products will reach our customers this month. So if you haven't ordered one already, I would urge you to do that, because there is a massive chance that by the next week, all the first shipment will be sold. I'm confident about that. If you cannot order now and you will wait for next week, don't worry. The next batches are coming right after that. And starting next month, there will be mass production of these devices. So I think everybody who wants one will get it.
I see. And I guess that kind of covers the second question that Gerard had. When will these products be available for purchase from our distributors?
So I think like partly distributors will get them as well. So we don't do allocations for these devices. So pretty much anyone who wants to buy one can buy one. So yeah, I think those devices will be widely available in majority of the world by the end of this month. One exception is North American market, so it's not like secret that X50 and TRB 500 is not for US market yet. They're not made for US market yet. We don't have that support, and I know that everybody's wondering when we're gonna have it. So I would say Our best chance is by the end of Q1 or start of Q2 next year.
Yeah, and I think it's important to stress out that it's not because of the lack of desire to have them ready
No,
for
No,
for
it's
USA.
just certification process takes way longer for US market than for majority of other markets in the world. So when the for European market certification process takes like 2 months or less, the certification process for US market takes half a year and more. So it's just a different beast.
So I guess it would be safe to say from your perspective, Mindaugas, that apart from the US, you see the markets for these two products as, you know, the whole rest of the world. all
Yeah,
of the regions, yeah.
With some exceptions, we have like countries like Brazil with special certifications, etc. So these will have to be taken care of, but like the majority, like 80% of the world should be covered.
Yeah,
for these devices and certifications.
Essentially, where the module is going to be compatible, these products are going to be compatible, just at probably slightly different time.
Yeah, indeed. Like there will be different versions, like as I said, for US of these devices. I don't. I would see like in future more regional specific versions as well. But for now, I think these devices is a very good starting point, and yeah, it's I think way easier for our customers, especially for those who don't actually know where those devices will be installed in the world. So it's easier for those customers to just rely on one device instead of thinking about how many of which version device they need.
Another question that I'm seeing not for the first time during our webinars, Christian is inquiring, is there any plans to power, not necessarily these two, but also 5G products, to power Teltonika devices with active PoE, using Teltonika PoE switches, for example?
We are hearing about it from time to time.
Yeah,
I guess just maybe not enough for us to actually commit to it.
It's like it's usually unclear. The business case is rather unclear regarding this. And if like we would have partner who would show us the value which would be created by adding this functionality, I think it will be way easier to commit to doing that. So like Christian, I encourage you to reach out to your sales manager and get them all the information, and we may do that device.
Yeah, and Mindaugas has touched on a quite important point. I mean, not we usually say that, you know, we have a very close feedback loop with our partners, that our portfolio decisions are very heavily influenced by the feedback that we get from the market, and that is entirely true, because we with our sizable sales team, we monitor what is demanded in terms of project requirements, in terms of what our partners say works in their region, in their market, in their specific use case, and once we have a clear view based on projects, based on demanded quantities, we can evaluate, you know, if that's going to be useful for the majority of our users, or is it more of a niche feature, not necessarily about active PoE, but about product feature decisions overall. So please be heard. Please reach out, get in touch with us, with your sales managers. If you don't have one, just drop us an email, because we are a very reactive company when it comes to decisions on what we make, what we produce. And I guess that's, you know, one of the beautiful benefits of having everything in-house, doing everything with our own hands. Looking further, personally, not quite familiar, but certifications, EAL4 security certification or EAL4 plus security certifications. Do our routers have them, or is that familiar? EAL4. Probably need to follow up just after this Q&A.
I need to look into it.
Yeah, we will publish all of the questions and answers to our webinar section, in the past webinar section, so you'll be able to find the answer there, Gerard. Now, in terms of speeds, lots of questions. Has there been any benchmark testing done against like consumer grade products, 5G products, like in particular the Netgear Nighthawk or similar devices?
Okay, well, we haven't probably tested against this particular device. We do have some of consumer devices in R&D. We have tested them. Okay, so I guess the results are inconclusive. Consumer grade devices, well, usually they do some sacrifices in terms of maybe not providing as much functionality for the mainly for the firewall, which means that they can sometimes achieve high speeds, while when we want to have as much of the security features as possible. So full firewall support usually slows the devices down, and this actually can be observed in those two of our devices. We talked about that one of them has the CPU and the other one doesn't. So actually the TRV 500 can achieve higher speeds in some cases when the firewall is not disabled, but when it's not activated fully. So I guess the short answer is
It's not like comparing apples to apples. I think what Mantas is trying to say, like it's like comparing our device with consumer device. You have to keep in mind that the purpose of those devices are completely different, and the requirements for those devices is completely different. And at the end of the day, in the real world, they're used for two completely different purposes. So when the consumer device, as Mantas stated, like it's judged by its speed. Our devices are not just judged by their speed, maximum speed. They're judged by the reliability and the security, and they provide basically how stable they are, and that they don't like crash or just
Restart,
and
reset.
reset, or whatever. So
regardless of a harsh environment
Yeah.
they may be found in.
yeah, so like it's a little bit different type of device. It's like comparing a sports car with a tractor. Like yeah, both have an engine, both go from 0 to some kilometers an hour, but like it's comparing them on the top speed, and I don't think it's a reasonable thing to do.
But even talking about the speeds, I mean, I have seen our guys performing tests, comparing our device to some particular consumer device. We can set up tests when we are twice as fast, but then again, we can set up tests when the consumer device is twice as fast. So
Everything depends on the application, right?
depends on the setup of the device, of all the functions enabled. So the results may be very, very different.
Well, it's safe to say that, and it's defined in the specifications of TRV 500, it does have a gigabit Ethernet interface. So with this product, the bottleneck is clear, a gigabit per second. But I guess it will more make sense when, I don't know, Mindaugas, can you comment about the price points, at least vaguely, because I have quite a lot of questions asking about that. X50, TRB 500, can you share
I
something?
would recommend to reach out to your representative, sales representative, to get the pricing on them. I think the retail prices can already be found on the internet.
Well, let's take a look how fast our partners are.
Yeah, try it. Because I think you could find some devices.
Not as fast as I have expected. But they
I
will
think
be
it will
appearing.
be very publicly available, so it's what I can tell, it's considerably, like, our prices are considerably lower than majorities like competitors.
From a professional networking.
Yeah,
field.
like, I'm not comparing it to consumer grade devices, but like even comparing to consumer grade devices, we're not that heavily more expensive, like about 30% more expensive than consumer grade devices. So it's, I think we're at very competitive price point in the market. So yeah, I think it's these devices will be the ones to consider when thinking about the future of IoT solutions.
Great. And again, another question I see repeating. Maybe Andres, you could just help us out very quickly, just draw the differences between these two products, because people have seen your presentation, people have seen the introduction, but what are just key differences between them?
Okay, the main difference is the size. No, it's not the main difference. So talking about differences, you should remember the TRB 500 has one Ethernet port, RET 50 has 5 of them, right? The RET 50 has 2 SIM cards, TRB 500 has 1 SIM card. Furthermore, talking, both of them support the same operating system, right? Mantas mentioned that RET 50 has the CPU, and TRB 500 doesn't have the CPU. Also talking about the size and measurements, so and the weight is different, the size is different, the hardware interfaces are
I
different.
think I just like to put it in a bombshell, like in one thing, in one sentence. The main difference is that TRB is for connecting one device, one application to internet, and X series is for multiple devices. To connect multiple devices to internet through different kinds of interfaces at once. So like if you need to buy one device, one solution, TRB is more than enough for you. And if you need to, for example, like let's take a broad example, like a bus, like you need to power like ticketing system, you need to power cameras, you need to power passenger counting system and provide Wi-Fi for the passengers. So X series is the solution for you. So 2 different devices, 2 different purposes. Of course, like, yeah, they are both silver, both very looks rather similar in the picture, especially, but like very different devices, very different purposes.
Yeah, you know, we usually tell that taking the TRB series gateways, no matter if it's TRB 500 or TRB 140 or any other, basically you take only what you need.
Yeah,
you do not pay additionally for what you will not be using. So basically you get the device, as Mindaugas mentioned, you power up one endpoint, let's say, and that's it, your solution.
Although with 5G, it's worth mentioning that that single endpoint could be small to medium office, just plugging it into your main router's WAN port and using 5G as a primary source of connectivity or a backup source of connectivity, because with speeds up to 1 gigabit per second, I mean, it can really take care of the traffic demands of just small, medium office, depending on what they do.
Yeah, you remember Mindaugas? Mindaugas mentioned.
Oh, for sure. I have like a couple of 100 megabits at home. I'm stored with
Remember the event which we had 2 days ago? Mindaugas mentioned that the main competitor of 5G is the fiber.
In the long run, at least,
Yeah.
it is. Because at the end of the day, like, it's no brainer that like 4G will, like all applications of 4G will move to 5G eventually. But at the end of the day, like, speeds that 5G provides makes it a competitor to fiber, because putting down new cables is bloody expensive, and having just 5G connectivity is way cheaper.
Yeah.
So it's like, if we talk about existing infrastructure, yeah, maybe that infrastructure won't be changed to 5G, but like when we talk about new infrastructure, I'm confident that 5G will be in play.
Great. Quick question about the Bluetooth, and I'll take this one. One of our viewers noticed that the Bluetooth was not present in the RETX50 specifications, and that is correct. And I guess it's safe to say that it's also based on the feedback from
It's
our
not
partner.
there.
It's just not there. It's just not there, but it's not there, not by accident, but by design. As always, we want to be as competitive as possible, and also as immune from the supply chain stress that's been going on for multiple years. And at the same time, we didn't see too big of a use of the Bluetooth functionality from at least the X series.
Yeah, it's like it always, like when putting down on paper all the specifications for a new device, you always keep in mind that it's very easy to over-engineer things. Like to put everything possible in there, and like then it's very easy to go out of any reasonable price point and just make a complete overkill device. So when we were like in X series, other X series devices, you can find Bluetooth. And for X50s, there is a very good reason why it's not there. It's just basically, it's not used enough to keep it there, and basically inflate the price of the device and make everybody pay for it. So that's not used that often to put it in the standard device. Great. I think if there would be a massive demand for Bluetooth, I don't think it would be a problem to put it there.
No,
Not at all. I believe we even have some in early stages of the development. We haven't made the decision yet to leave the Bluetooth out. So I believe we even had the prototype with the Bluetooth incorporated. So it's just, we can take a step back and then
Make it more expensive.
Yeah.
but I guess that's not what you want, making it more expensive.
No, there is value in that, sure, but like for everybody, I don't think it makes sense to have more expensive device and have the feature that we don't use.
Of course, and we have lots of questions, and I aggregate some of them, and I hope you guys don't mind. And one of them that I would like to follow up on, there was a question, is it Wi-Fi 6 or Wi-Fi 5? Why not Wi-Fi 6? So perhaps let's talk about the wireless capabilities of the RTX 50. Why did we choose to go the Wi-Fi 5 route?
It seemed like the best way forward. We're still selling a lot of Wi-Fi 4 devices. They have more than enough use cases. This one is Wi-Fi 5, so it offers even more possibilities while still keeping the cost of the device reasonably low.
Yeah, and it's balanced, I think. Like Wi-Fi 6 is a little bit of overkill. Like, yeah, looking at the theoretical speeds, like Wi-Fi 6 could make sense of this device. However, like we live in the real world. And like 5G speeds, like, yeah, in theory, they're amazing, but like in real world, I don't think like we will see more than 50% of theoretical speeds. And in this case, like Wi-Fi 5 is plenty. Just to use that technology, and like if you would have to pay, I don't know, extra 60-70 euros just for Wi-Fi 6, which you won't be able to use properly because you don't have speeds for it. So I don't think it makes sense.
And, of course, in the future, the market will grow, more speed-intensive tasks will appear, and this demand was going to aggregate into a sizable enough demand for us to include the Wi-Fi 6, because it's an inevitable technological evolution. However, and that's not the sexiest marketing message, I guess, coming from a product manufacturer, we are looking into what's demanded, what's needed on the largest scale, rather than put in something that inflates the price and then try to give you a reason to go for it. We want you guys to make most with our product, with the budgets for projects available.
Yeah.
Okay. I see some people dropping questions in the chat as well. So once again, please just copy them if possible to the Q&A, just so we don't miss some of those. And there was a question about TRV 500. How well would it work if a customer already has an RET240 or a RETX11 and then would connect the TRV 500 using Ethernet to provide the cellular connectivity from the TRV 500 to already installed RET240 or X11, which are spreading the connectivity through Wi-Fi to already established solution.
That's a weird way of connecting devices, but
If your network is already set up, and if you are using DHCP for getting the IP addresses, so the addition of TRV 500 would be as easy as powering it on and plugging in the cable. So the device that is located downstream from TRV 500 would get an IP address, have the connection, and that's it. Not much else to do that.
Possible just to plug it into any WAN port available on any of the devices, but you must appreciate that in this case, for example, RET240 would be a bottleneck just due to the nature that it has a 100 megabit Ethernet interface rather than a gigabit Ethernet interface. So we need to be aware about that. Do you both, the router and the gateway, use the same cellular module? Same cellular module?
Yeah, right now the module is the same.
Okay. I see a comment rather than a question from David, who says that he really appreciates the detailed response on the benchmarking question in terms of speeds and difference of the products, because it's a topic that he says we get so often from final end users, and he's appreciating that we've given us some good pointers to help end users decide over the X50 or TRV 500 in reflection to the consumer grade products.
Yeah. I think it's just a matter of testing, like setting the tests right to show the performance of the device. So yeah.
Clarifying one question about Wi-Fi. So this is Wi-Fi 5, dual band Wi-Fi, and 4x4 mile. That's correct.
2x2. Wi-Fi or Wi-Fi is 2x2.
2x2.
Wi-Fi 2x2 mile. Okay. Automotive certifications. People are inquiring about the X50 and automatic certifications. Do we plan that?
They are in the roadmap, of course.
Like EMARC is definitely in a roadmap, and I don't think we will have to wait very long to have it.
Mhm.
I don't know what automotive, like there are plenty of automotive certifications.
Yeah.
That out there, so like if you have some specific in mind. I would recommend to reach out to your sales rep and discussing that, because it may be in a pipeline, it may not be in a pipeline, but it, like if we see the demand, it could end up in the pipeline anyway, so. Yeah, it's just a matter of communication and a matter of needs, what you have, and yeah, we're there to make it work for you.
Great. I'm sure this product will find its home in many public or private transportation use cases, because we see how popular our devices are in that industry segment, and the natural progress is just going 5G. Like you said during the presentation, Mindaugas, not necessarily because today 4G speeds aren't enough, but just the longevity of the project, of the projects overall, right?
Yeah, you don't buy a bus for a year or two. Usually we like traveling through the Europe, where you see like buses that like are 10, 15 years old. And like that solution has to last. So why to save, I don't know, 20-30% now and have to go through all the hassle later on? It's not productive. So I think like, yeah, the majority of applications which could still use today 4G will move to 5G. Not because they want to save money now, because they want to save money in the future.
Okay, I think we could address this one. It's about the throughput, so something that we discussed, but from a different angle. Maybe, Thomas, maybe you could take this one. Is the throughput of TRB 500 and the RET X50 the same? I mean, different architectures, same module, different interfaces. How we would be able to best comment about this?
I think it depends on what part we're looking to.
I think what functionality is used as well, because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, like, and it depends on the interface as well.
Yeah, an interface which connects the device.
Because TRB has one interface and one interface only, so like Ethernet port, that's it.
Gigabit is capped.
Yeah, so like regarding the X50, so you can have it through Wi-Fi, you can have it through Ethernet, like it depends.
Even
How
USB we can use.
Yeah, how many devices you connect to it, what security functionalities you add, it has many variables. So like, I don't think like if everything turned off and using just Ethernet, you would see different results.
I think those two devices, if just go straight to module side, we'll see very similar results, comparable results.
The same antenna configuration. So
I'd say out of the box, they're the same. But if you have a goal to make one better than the other, then it's probably easier to get better speeds with TRB 500, because there are some tricks to turn off the firewall, and then when there is no CPU, you can expect to have a more direct traffic. So I'm not sure how useful it is to turn off those features, but
I think it's great to mention that, Let's Step in TLB allows you to utilize that CPU power for communication, then to powering other features. And of course, as Mindaugas mentioned before, our device is not like sports cars. They are workhorses, which are designed to provide best performance for a long year, and not like momentary.
Workhorse with 5G, that's a pretty fast moving workhorse, I would say.
With the jet.
Getting on with the questions, there's one about the flavor of 5G. I personally don't know, so let's see if that's something that we could answer. Will there be any future support for 5G ATSSS, which stands for Access, Traffic, Steering, Switching, and Splitting?
I think going to be, just not to try to guess what it's doing here. I think we have to address this
You
question.
need to come back after the Q&A
I
session.
understand what they're talking about.
I have an idea what can be, but I want to, just try to speculate what it is.
Okay, might be an interesting feature. And a little more clarification on the antenna arrangement is needed for the RET X50. So from the cellular side, is it 4x4 MIMO?
It is 4x4 line.
Cellular 4x4 MIMO and wireless Wi-Fi
2x2.
2x2. Okay, I think we have this clarified. One question I also seen one viewer, Asif, noticed TRB 500 is IP30 certified, meaning that as it is, it's not a suitable device to be placed outside in the harsh weather conditions without any protection. So it would have to be put in like an IP67 or IP68 case. He's slightly worried about, the performance if we have antennas inside that same case. What is the best advice we could give to Asif willing to use the TRB 500 outside in a separate case?
Don't use a metal case.
First, don't use a metal case.
We have quite a lot of examples from our partners with X14, X12 or other routers where they just use short coaxial cables to connect our devices with the external antennas on the box, which is placed for protect. And it's the best solution. Having short coaxial cable won't damage the performance of the device, and this is the same part with the 5G.
Also, as if you must use the metal case for some reason, the combo antennas that we have right now will be updated with a combo antenna suitable for 5G products in the near future.
In the near future, we'll have that.
This is going to be the best solution to what you described, because, well, if we take this as an example of the case, with the combo antenna on top, secure it with tightened screws, and the antenna is outside of the box, the product is inside, fully protected, and with the best signal connection as possible in your location. Terence is inquiring about a few things. So X50 dual SIM,
Indeed.
is a dual module. Can it be used for load balancing or bonding? So the answer to the first question is it's single module device, but about load balancing and bonding, should we expand about this?
It can be used for load balancing if you are combining different interfaces. So you can combine 5G interface with, let's say, wireline. So that's
Or Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi.
As a primary, like secondary internet source.
Like all of our Wi-Fi compatible products, this can work as a station and an access point at the same time. So like Manta said, load balancing can be very different scenarios. But as far as bonding is concerned, you would need like an additional software provider for this, and we have multiple use cases about that.
There can be found information about those software providers in our website.
what will be my limitations, Simon is asking, if I have to use the RETX50 with 2x2 antenna? Can I turn off two antenna connectors? Should I use coax terminators for the unused connections?
Okay, so the official statement of the manufacturer of the model is that the antennas should not be left. The connectors should not be left without the antennas. So you using the terminators is the right thing to do. I personally haven't come up with any cases when the model was damaged for not using the terminators. But again, the official position is to use the connectors.
Like, yeah, and
Terminators.
would it even work?
It would.
Didn't I hear that you guys had a 5G service without any antennas in the office? Actually,
We have a base station in the office. I don't think that's unnecessary.
Yeah, perfect connection.
Yeah, but again, you using only two antennas is actually there are no official data on what the performances can be expected, because for 5G all the antennas are exactly the same, meaning that there are no auxiliary and main antennas. All of them are. We have 4 main antennas. All of them should be. If some of them are not used, obviously the performance will degrade, but there is no way of telling how much and what you will be left with. Okay.
So maybe in short, the different application and different place where it will be installed will, then tell you if, in one application, having less antennas does not give you a penalty of performance. Other applications can give you, for example, in different locations. So of course, it's always suggested and always use old antennas, since then we can guarantee that you will get best performance of 5G. Is that correct?
Officially, there is no option for using less than 4 antennas, because the 5G is meant to have all the antennas connected. It will work without 1 or 2 antennas. I can't say what you will be left with.
Okay.
Since we're nearing to the end of our Q&A session, I already see that we won't be able to answer all of the questions since there are quite many. But as mentioned before, just to reiterate, we're going to answer all of the questions in a Q&A section of this webinar that's going to be placed on our web. But while still have the audience, we still have the audience there. Let's take a couple more. About the encryption speed of the RTX50. Is it reasonable to expect it to be similar to the RTX11 once using like IPsec or WireGuard VPN solutions? Is it comparable?
Yes, so since the CPU is the same, so it is reasonably to expect the speeds to be the same. But I'm hearing that our guys are preparing an optimization for IPsec, I believe, to be able to achieve better speed. So I'm waiting for that if they're coming to us.
Okay, and the antenna discussion gave birth to more antenna questions. That's usually the case. So Christian is inquiring, is it possible to separate the 2 Wi-Fi antennas with an extension cable to increase the coverage, or does have the 2 Wi-Fi antennas be near each other to work well?
Okay, we are diving quite deep in that antennas.
I hope you have time.
I think we need whiteboard now.
I'd say that there is a minimal distance between the antennas that should be observed. I think we have this minimal distance covered in our devices. Our antennas are not cramped too much together. If you are to try to achieve much bigger distance between the antennas, in the open field, I would say you won't get any improvement. Okay, so open, maybe air is not the most common use case. Being inside a room or a bus, there are different factors involved, like the dimensions of the room, the material of the walls. So maybe I personally would not be playing with it. I don't think you will get improvements, but I would not be surprised if after spending a lot of time on it, you will find a place for those antennas that allows you to achieve better speeds, but I wouldn't bother.
Yeah, I think like if you want to get way better results, you may have to replace the antenna itself, like use different antennas.
Yeah, that would probably.
Yeah, I think that would be the more wise way to go, to search for different kind of antenna, like to have better signal. If the signal you are getting is not enough from the standard antennas we have, so like custom antennas, yeah, be prepared to pay for it as much as the device costs, but like it may help you. That would be the better chance.
And the biggest maybe benefits of the wired antennas for me is coming maybe back to the question when the device is installed somewhere inside the wall, inside the cabinet. So the wired antennas allow you to maybe to come out of the box of the wall, of the ceiling, and then to place antennas in the better way. So
like for example, like there was one use case where all the controllers of elevator, like in some of the buildings, are in elevator shaft, like in the bottom of the shaft. So there is like basically it's a concrete shaft, so there are no connection whatsoever there. So wired antenna is not just to like make the signal wide or whatever, it's just to take it out of the shaft to get signal. So yeah, it's like different purpose.
So our first live Q&A event is nearing to an end, and well, without consulting, but I just had a thought that it would be a nice ending if we could just share what do we think this 5G change, this 5G development is going to bring to the market. If we can start with you.
I will bring in new opportunities, I think, for everybody. And yeah, now sky's the limit. Like even for use cases we couldn't dream about with 4G, 5G enables them. So I think just everybody will have to adjust their mindset and the like sea of things, like how they see things, looking at new solutions and like building new solutions, and consider 5G as a viable option instead of like relying on fiber as they used to, or relying on 4G as they used to. So like 5G should get into the consideration first, and then many things have to be put into calculations of how that actual solution, how much the actual solution costs.
Mhm.
So it's many changes, but it is exciting at the same time.
Mantas, do you have a idea of the change that's relevant to you personally, perhaps to your R&D team?
Personally, I am afraid. I am afraid that our clients may have the possibilities for new use cases, but for me, it means more questions, more
work.
more work. Yeah. Or more new things to look into. We don't know much. Our clients will come back with the suggestions, questions, improvements, and my guys will have to implement it. So yeah, a lot of work.
Better grow the team, I guess. No other option, because I'm sure the sales for these
Yeah.
devices are going to go up. Thomas, do you have a?
Well, looking from my point of view, the 5G brings the complexity down of certain solutions. With 5G, as Nicholas mentioned, it's bringing new opportunities into the market, and now we are talking about remote access, remote controls, remote management of the solution. With 5G can be done in a different way by even don't have to lay down fiber in a solution, or even buses can have fiber solution and can have different applications for monitoring and controlling. And now with 5G and in Teltonika and on the world can bring different perspective in the solutions and how we work with the things live and what information can we have and provide to the customers.
Yeah, and I'm just happy about that. I'm happy that we have launched 2 5G products. I'm happy that our R&D department managed to make those 2 products on time and on the same time, because there was probably different challenges to make 2 products. And I'm very waiting for the moment that those 2 products will be the best sellers of Teltonika Networks.
I think that's when our customers who are joining this webinar comes into play.
Thank you all very much and very dearly for joining us, not only today, but joining us Monday on our product presentation. We hope you enjoyed it. And personally, I'm quite curious to see how different telecom operators and internet service providers who already offer fiber and will be offering 5G, how will they manage? How will they prioritize which technology they develop more?
I think the customers will.
Well, as marketing, we all know how driving the market works. So it's a struggle from both sides. But thank you so much for giving us very good questions to discuss and to hopefully shed more light on these products and our perspective on 5G in general. And as always, you will find the recording of this event on our the webinar section next to the previous webinars. And in a couple of days' time, we will get back with all of the answers that were discussed and unfortunately did not have a time to be discussed there as well. So you'll find everything on our webinar section. And for now, say happy Wednesday for those of you who are still in the morning, the afternoon, in the evening. And we have a very wide geography, so best of luck to all of you. And we wish you to get at least one of those very soon. Hopefully 100. So
Bye.
bye, everybody.
Bye.